There's a kind of harm that rarely looks like harm at all. Most of the time, it looks like love. It looks like an extra scoop of food because your cat seems hungry. An extra treat because they've been especially sweet today. A little more just because it feels wrong to say no to that face. And that's what makes it so easy to miss. Because overfeeding doesn't usually begin with neglect. It begins with affection. 1. Overfeeding usually comes from love, not cruelty. The truth is, almost no one overfeeds a cat because they want to do something harmful. It usually comes from a good place, from wanting to comfort them, from wanting to reward them, from wanting to feel like they're happy, cared for, and never lacking anything. And in the beginning, it doesn't look serious. Your cat gets a little rounder, a little softer, maybe a little heavier when you pick them up. People smile and say they look adorable. Someone jokes that they're living the good life. And because nothing seems urgent, the habit continues. That's how this kind of problem grows, quietly. 2. Obesity doesn't arrive dramatically. It settles in slowly. It usually doesn't come from one huge mistake. It comes from many small moments that don't feel dangerous on their own. A few extra treats here, a little refill there. Someone feeds the cat and then someone else does it again without realizing. Day by day, what feels harmless starts becoming normal. And that's the part many people never see clearly enough. Obesity in cats doesn't arrive dramatically. It settles in slowly, until one day, the cat is no longer just a little chubby. They're carrying more weight than their body was ever meant to handle. 3. Cats hide discomfort so well that owners miss the signs. At first, the changes can be easy to dismiss. Maybe your cat doesn't jump as often as they used to. Maybe they don't run after toys with the same energy. Maybe they sleep a little more, move a little less, or seem less interested in exploring. A lot of people look at that and think, maybe they're just getting older. Maybe they're just lazy. Maybe this is just their personality now. But cats are incredibly quiet when something is wrong. That's one of the hardest things about loving them. They don't always show discomfort in obvious ways. They don't complain the way humans do. More often, they simply become smaller versions of themselves. A cat who once jumped onto the windowsill without thinking now pauses before trying. A cat who used to chase a toy across the floor now just watches it. A cat who once groomed every part of their body starts missing spots they can no longer reach easily. And because those changes happen slowly, the people around them often adapt to the new version without realizing what has been lost. 4. Obesity doesn't just change appearance, it changes a cat's whole life. That's what makes obesity so heartbreaking. It doesn't just change how a cat looks, it changes how a cat lives. It changes how they move through the house, how they land when they jump, how they rest, how they clean themselves, how much energy they have left for play, curiosity, or even simple comfort. Extra weight is not just something sitting on the outside of the body, it affects the body from within. It puts more strain on joints. It makes movement harder. It can lead to pain, illness, and long-term health problems that many owners don't think about when they're dropping one more treat into the bowl. And that's the difficult truth here. What feels small in the moment may not be small to your cat's body at all.
If you're a cat lover, don't forget to subscribe for more amazing cat facts, care tips, and heart-melting cat moments. 5. A cat's body doesn't understand your intention, only your habits. Because a cat doesn't experience food the way we experience intention. Your cat doesn't know that the extra handful came from love. Their joints don't know that. Their metabolism doesn't know that. Their liver doesn't know that. The body only knows what happens repeatedly. And when just a little more becomes the rhythm of everyday life, the consequences begin to build, whether anyone means for them to or not. That is what makes overfeeding so dangerous. Not the single moment, the repetition. 6. Many people confuse feeding with caring. I think that's why this topic is so uncomfortable for people. Because overfeeding often comes from tenderness, and tenderness is hard to question in ourselves. Sometimes we feed because our cat meows, and saying no feels cruel. Sometimes we feed because we've been away all day and want to make up for it. Sometimes we feed because giving food is the fastest way to feel needed or forgiven or loved. Without even realizing it, food can become our easiest language of affection. And once that happens, it becomes very hard to separate caring from feeding. But they are not the same thing. A full bowl is not always an act of protection. A happy reaction in the moment is not always a healthy outcome in the long run. And a cat who seems delighted by treats may still be moving toward a life that becomes smaller, heavier, and more physically difficult with time. 7. Real love sometimes looks like restraint. That's why real care sometimes asks for restraint. Not coldness, not punishment, not withholding out of harshness, just honesty. The kind of honesty that says, I love you enough not to confuse your appetite with your well-being. The kind that says, I would rather protect your future than win your affection for 10 seconds with another snack. The kind that understands that love is not always about giving more. Sometimes it's about knowing when enough is already enough. Because a cat does not need endless food to feel safe. They do not need a constantly full bowl to feel loved. What they need is a body that still lets them move freely, groom comfortably, play naturally, and live without carrying unnecessary pain. 8. The sad moment many owners realize it too late. And for many owners, the truth does not hit all at once. It arrives in one quiet, painful moment. Maybe it's the day the cat can't jump where they used to jump. Maybe it's the day the vet says the word obese out loud, and suddenly everything feels more real. Maybe it's the day you notice they are not becoming calmer, they're becoming limited. And once you see that clearly, the old habits begin to feel different. The extra scoop doesn't feel so innocent anymore. The constant treats don't feel so harmless. The jokes about your cat being chunky stop being funny. Because underneath all of it is a much sadder truth. The body has been paying for a pattern that the heart kept calling love. So the next time your cat asks for more, pause for a second. Not because you want to deny them something, but because maybe in that small moment, you have a chance to choose the kind of love that looks past today, the kind that protects tomorrow. Because overfeeding almost never begins with cruelty. It begins with softness. And that is exactly why so many people don't realize the damage until the damage is already there. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is not give more. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is protect the life your cat will have later. The way they move, the way they play, the way they feel in their own body. Because love should not only make a cat feel full, it should help them stay well.